to kind of follow the story. You know, because a lot of people always love to hear what this guy had to say, but you know, he's had those life changes. He's been playing in our American groups. He's a Canadian now. He is TLO.
And spawning over in the northeast side of Ice and Chrome, it is Ting's Neeb. TLO definitely one of the players with the more interesting routes through esports. Like, I remember seeing that picture of him when he was very young, like seemingly before he was 10 or so, kind of seeing the CEO of, or co-CEO of Liquid, actually, Victor Nazgul, playing a Brood War tournament back then, and ended up joining the same organization that he ended up creating. But he's made moves to Sweden for his career. He's made moves, well, now to Canada through his career. So, yeah, definitely a very established player, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about a guy like TLO forever because he's been around forever. He used to be a random player back in the beta for StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, became a Terran, kind of broke the meta with a couple of really cool builds way back when, and then decided, you know what, I'd rather be a swarmy boy, and has been cruising that wild strategy Zerg life forever. You know, it's almost like a curse to use the word creative around him because of how much people say it. When you're lost for words, that really is the best way to describe Dr. Dario. He is a very intelligent Zerg player who mixes things up and can be aggressive in different ways.
He sure can. He sure can. Speaking of intelligent, though, the Protoss on the other side of the map, he's a guy that really took the scene by storm. Like, this guy over here, Neeb, he was the first player in something like, I don't know how many years, like 15 or something, to go to Korea and win a tournament against Koreans on Korean soil, which was amazing. The Kesper Cup championship that he ended up winning with all the best players in at the time. And he made his own style as well. He took down the PvPs with a disruptor play. He's been prolific in his adept usage against Zergs as well. And 2017 was really his year. And when you have talent like that, and also hard work, and he's also a player that switched race, by the way, from Terran to Protoss a long time ago. Both these guys stepping away from Terran, you know? But no, definitely one of the greatest American players of all time.
Yeah, I think when I think about Neeb in his early days, the first time I ever cast a match of Neeb was, or at least that I recall, was when he was playing against Pult in a TVT, and he took a map off of him in DH America, like 2014, I think, was like the first season that I actually worked on. And, you know, he was still able to like reach round of 16 in those tournaments, right? He wasn't bad, but he kind of elevated himself, found that Protoss fit the way that he wanted to play the game a little bit better. And he's basically been on top of NA ever since, occasionally trading that spot with Scarlet every now and again. This Adept coming forward to poke. We do know Neeb has always been a big fan of Adepts, and I think even up until recently when Adepts have gotten a little bit more usage, he was still one of the players that would use them a lot, but his first one does get caught out by those Zerglings. Stargate is going to be revealed by the Phoenix chipping away at this Overlord in the north side of the main base.
The Adept did get a cheeky drone, though, and a couple of Zerglings. Obviously, you don't want to be losing it, but that's a trade I think you're willing to take, especially for the scouting info that he got from it. But no, yeah, you're right about Neeb. He's just a lovely player. I remember back when Huck was still playing, back when he was still on EG and stuff, and he ended up playing against Neeb when he switched to Protoss and actually lost the series against Neeb. And I remember giving Huck a smile like, oh, how'd you lose to him? And he was like, actually, he was really good Protoss. Like, I just want to point that out. And I was like, oh, okay. By the way, second Stargate being warped in here for Neeb. So he's gone for the Phoenix to deny the scouting. He's gone for the Oracle follow-up, which is very normal. Like, you lift up the Queens, and then it's only a Spore Crawler shooting at you. But now going for a second Stargate along with a lot of Phoenix. This is definitely unusual by Neeb.
I was going to say, we're talking about how late it is in Europe. I wonder if Rotterdam is still up to see some Phoenix come out and try to do some heavy lifting here on Ice and Chrome. These Adepts trying to ferry the probe over to the third. The probe is not able to make it, so it's going to delay his ability to drop that Nexus if he wants to at quite the time. Baneling Nest, though, lair coming up. I mean, TLO is just kind of getting his macro together. He's going to mix in a few more Zerglings. Maybe he wants to try to poke that third base, bait out the Oracle energy. Not 100% sure It could just be also just, you know, being a little bit careful, having some units at home just in case a couple of adepts do show up.
This is nice scouting, just using one of the Phoenix. Hasn't yet revealed the ace up his sleeve, which is the fact that he's stacking them up in his base. But it's been very nice by TLO so far, just being annoying with that little handful of lings. I mean, initially killing the adept and then slowing down the third base. TLO's definitely been on point this game, as has Neeb.
Yeah, very, very straightforward match that we've had thus far. Neither player committing to anything that wants to be like crazy aggressive. Of course, we know that when he does decide to show the Phoenix, when he decides to show all of them, I suppose I should say, he's been pocketing them back in the natural. He will have the opportunity to get the jump on him. It's not unusual if this Hydralisk then comes out and he wants to try and do some sort of timing attack, try to hit something with Hydra speed or range. Obviously, that can become really complicated. Dep's going to make their way back toward the third, get 3 drone kills. So just some light harass coming out from Neeb. And now the Phoenix are going to rear their ugly heads to Muslim.
They certainly are, but how many Hydras are out already? In fact, no Hydras are out so far. So we do have 6 Queens on the map, a few Spore Crawlers here and there, but these Phoenix, they do need to get damage done, and they also need to be kept alive because there's going to be quite a lot of Hydralisks on the field very soon. 7 drones do fall this far, which is definitely a healthy number. This creep spread's not bad. It's not connected to the 4th base just yet, but TLO's been very careful about placing his Queens, and I say that, but a Queen or 2 caught off guard, but are kept alive by transfusions. It's a decent defense, but very good damage so far by Neeb, it must be said.
Yeah, no, these Phoenix definitely don't work. We got Banelings coming into the third base, though. Beautiful force field to block them out. They're going to still come through the top side. Don't think they have the splash range to hit across, and they don't have +2 melee either, so definitely defended there, trading 2 probes for 12 drones. And he also killed one of the Hydralisks there as well, to Muslim, so kind of taking a little bit of the punch out of anything that TLO could have tried to do with those Hydralisks.
This is one of those moments that you bring up the resources Wasp have, and you're like, ah, yeah, that's the Phoenix I know and love, where they're just trading extremely efficiently against the opponent. 3 probes and 3 adepts falling, and then just like a bunch of random Zerg units. But no, I'm very impressed by Neeb's opening, and that force field, if he didn't land that, if he was looking away for even a moment there, that could have been catastrophic for him, but he didn't take any damage whatsoever, it felt like.
Yeah, very well done. We've got just a Spore Crawler here at this base. None of the Queens or Hydras to support. So Neeb says, yeah, I might trade out a Phoenix to this Spore Crawler or 2 for all the drones. 7 more drones picked off. Not bad at all. The transition back home, we've got High Templar coming in. Warp Prism charge, +1 attack with that Prism and the Archons. I don't know that he wants to try and go for a big assault just yet. Maybe try to do some harass, play defensively. He's actually got stasis traps already set up at the third base to help cover at least one of the angles, shield battery, even a photon cannon. He's taking no chances at all to Muslim.
No, he's definitely in a decent spot here when it comes down to his defense. And probe count-wise, he's actually equal to Zerg. They're both around like the 69, 70 mark. But that definitely signals that TLO is going to be going for an attack sometime very soon. And that is exactly what we see here. The stasis ward kind of makes a nice little choke/wall.
Yeah, the Lings are the really wall cool. Now.
Yeah.
The Lings are the wall.
Yeah, you can't deal with that as a Zerg, and TLO is going to have to kind of slow on up here, but Neeb now knows what's coming.
Wow, uncomfortable situation to say the least. He does get Zealots into a counterattack during this whole defense. Good force fields to lock out most of the Banelings and the Hydralisks. He can take the army piece by piece. He's got the Zealots on that 4th, so TLO, he really needs to make something happen right here, right now, or Neeb could just snowball out of control. The Banelings and the Hydralisks are coming forward. One of the stasis traps is going to get 4 of the Banelings locked up. Phoenix are coming in to try with the assists on those lifts. Even the Oracle helping to tase down these forces, and the Prism is there. Why? Well, you might as well juggle some Archon action while you are at it. That 4th base is dead. So is TLO's push. And now I'm feeling a little bit concerned for him as Neeb may be raring up to go for a counterattack.
That feeling when you go for kind of a pretty big bust there, like an all-in, and your opponent not only holds, but he kills your 4th while you're doing it. This is definitely a horrid spot to be in, and TLO's feeling the pressure. Right now, I don't think he can carry on this game normally. I think and he goes immediately into Lurkers now, which I like it. I like doing something a bit funky, because I don't think you can just be like, oh yeah, the Protoss is ahead, I'm just going to slowly die. But I'm wondering how he's going to make use of that. He does have a lot of gas to spend.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the comeback moves you could go for, right? You have to consider he also doesn't have any upgrades whatsoever. So without +2 on Banelings, for example, he's not going to get the miracle single Baneling that, you know, it's like, oh no, one Bane left, GG. But he now will have to do, I mean, quite a bit of different sort of style to try and slow down Neeb. And if there's one thing that can do that, it is definitely the Lurkers. They have that ability to outrange anything Protoss can build on the ground, outside of maybe a well-placed disruptor shot, and even those are quite tricky to do. So we definitely know that the Lurkers can be challenging to deal with. However, I also think even if he were to be able to get them out, the Muslim, he can't afford to go into a hive right now and actually get the upgrades that make Lurkers that good.
No, but 12 Lurkers coming out from the field. Yeah, busting through that's going to be difficult. So I don't know what TLO's plan is, whether it's just going to be to not die for a while, which 12 Lurkers could definitely hold off Neeb for a bit, but he kind of has to think about slowing Neeb down because he's at 75 pros against your 58 drones. Better tech available, really, and better upgrades available. And yeah, TLO, he kind of wants to get across the map, but it's kind of difficult to do against a Neeb that seems to be all over the place with scouting.
Yeah, now let's see what he can actually get done with this. So we've got a bunch of these Lurkers. Now keep in mind, these aren't like the same level that we kind of know from a lot of late game PvZs when Lurkers usually come out. They don't have that 10 range, so they won't be able to siege from quite the normal distance. However, with this many of them, it's just the amount of splash that is going to come out in a line is going to be devastating, to say the least.
And this position that TLO's got, if you go at this just from one angle, but there is so much Neeb and so much raw power. Storms land, Archon's landing, and GG is called. Wow. I didn't think he was going to go straight at it like he did. In like a choke, it's like, that might be the best position for the Lurkers, but he smashed that army.
Yeah, unfortunately, it also worked really well for the High Templar. Getting all of the storms while he tried to go up that ramp was definitely going to be enough to help turn the tides there. Just again, you know, commendation on Neeb. He had a kind of a cute build, right, with the 2 Stargate Phoenix. He pocketed them for a long time. Those guys got good damage in, but also the reaction time to get that force field down on his 3rd base. Those 4 Banelings could have killed the entire mineral line. Would have, you know, could have completely changed the way that this game played out, losing all of the workers on that base. So just a big shout out to Neeb, and really just his reaction time and awareness, I think, is especially what I noticed in that game.
Yeah, TLO didn't play bad at all. It just Neeb played extremely precise and solid. Like, that's the Neeb that we all know and love. I think, really, for me, when I watch Neeb play, like when I sit behind him and stuff, I remember when he was all the craze back in 2017, and even like at the start of 2018, he was still exceptionally good. He's not the fastest player in the world. Like, he's still like a 300 APM guy, but he's so precise. Like, he can click on 10 different points on the screen in a very quick period of time, but just be extremely precise in how he does it, which is why his force field seems so key. His adept focus fire is also really darn good. He makes sniping things with those look so darn easy. And I've really been finding that more and more when I've been watching the really good players do what they do. It's one of those things that they just make it look so simple and so easy, but it's absolutely not.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how TLO is going to try to bring things forward again. I do want to echo your statement. I didn't really feel that he made like a tremendous number of mistakes, but you know, when you're trying to make your strategy around that attack, or perhaps he wasn't really intending to attack, but all those Phoenix end up getting so much damage, he thought maybe if I hit before he completes the transition to Storm. It's all very logical, the path that TLO took to get to that attack. But once you commit to doing that, you know, the ball starts to become in Neeb's court to just make the defense, and then he's just ahead.
And the game started off with a bit of a, like, TLO's natural got blocked, and then it was like the Adept came in, defended that, and then he delayed the 3rd a little bit. I think the Hydroling Bane attack was decent, but when you get a stasis like that, that makes it so much harder for you to engage as well. That was just nice time buying by Neeb, and you got to give a man credit when he's like placing stasises down preemptively, just because he knows what the potential weakness is, and that just shows his level of understanding of this matchup. And speaking of him, spawning in the bottom right-hand side as our red Protoss, it is Neeb.
I'll never get sick of those tracks. In the top left, we have the blue Zerg player. He is Liquid's TLO.
I swear on one of the days, there was like a Seinfeld one that was like, you know what I mean? But now there's got,
you know, I want them all. We got to get like a, you know, I'm like, you think about, you got to go for themes, right? You know, for the American players, we got to try to get some country in for this part, right? When we have the US players, you know, when Lambo comes on, it's like a synthwave, right? Like that fits very well with that theme. Heavy metal, if Maynard ever plays, actually it would probably break everybody's speakers if we put on Maynard's music. Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, if Maynard came on as a player though, I was just more thinking about Maynard coming on as a player and like having them all walk out like WWE style and like him waving his hair everywhere and being awesome. But no, this game, Death Aura. How do you personally feel about this? Because I know we've talked a little bit about the new maps and stuff, and you're not the biggest fan of Submarine down to your playstyle being a bit more, you know, you don't like to attack so much. But how do you feel about this one?
I like this map a lot, and I mean, you obviously have like a good rush distance. I find that the speed zones don't end up really having too much of an impact on a lot of games, at least that I've cast on this map too. But the airspace, right? It's so nice to have that, whether you're hiding battle cruisers or oracles or Phoenix or an overlord that wants to pop a Nidus. You know, there is a lot of airspace that you can kind of just have to yourself if your opponent isn't actively clearing it out. And because of that, it does allow, and you know, I think for some pretty cool, interesting strategies, right? Even if you just compare it to that map with like the giant block in the corner that makes it so you can't hide stuff there. Like you have the same amount of space, but nothing blocking, right? It's so nice.
I'm always curious about that blocking thing on Everdream because sometimes you can put a rally, right, where you like shift click and then they just get stuck there and they're like constantly trying to get to the point that you clicked on. It's like,
I hate it.
Where's my Banshee? And it's like, oh my gosh, he's still hugging the mountain randomly. And it's like, oh no. This game, Neeb's kind of opting for a very similar opening. He blocked the natural, right? Like TLO didn't just choose to make his natural.
Yeah, he had that probe there. He sent the probe out at the very start of the game. Yeah, he went for the early deny. Oh, whoa.
Wow. That was quite early. And if he does get the scout off, which he will, but did he get it with the Overlord anyway? I kind of think he did or would have. Although this is still decent to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing about this map, right? Is that until that Phoenix, or, you know, if the Phoenix comes out soon enough, you have a great space to just hide the Overlord and be able to come in from the back of the mineral line, which is a place where on other maps you would consider hiding your tech because you don't have as wide of an angle to be scouted from the skies.
Yeah, there's a few Overlords looking around Neeb's base right now. He's not making a Phoenix. In fact, he's going immediately for the Oracle first, as opposed to the other way around, which I like it. Maybe he sensed some weakness in the defense of TLO, but very often people tend to go for the Phoenix first, just to deal with the Overlords, like guaranteed damage.
Yeah. Do you think he's just hoping that the Spore Crawler isn't ready yet at the base that he goes to? Like it's just a little bit of like a small dice roll?
So one thing that's absolutely worth mentioning, Neeb was in the replay, which like he checked out the replay immediately after the game, which maybe he was looking for something like, aha, his spores are a tiny bit late, or maybe they're slightly misplaced. Like this one being on the far left there as opposed to the middle. The Oracle might have been getting a little bit of extra damage done, but TLO has very good defense, and the Phoenix, the follow-up Phoenix, does deal with the Overlords anyhow.
Yeah. He's going for the second Stargate again, too, which I do find quite bold. I suppose there's an assumption being made that since he was scouted, like he might not do it again. But I without knowing that corner Overlord is there, though, that guy could still end up getting the read on this if he tries to pocket the Phoenix once more, just like on the last game, too.
It's rough, right? Like, this is quite a large map. I can't see how you can super duper punish what Neeb's doing with the position that TLO is currently in. Like, there's no chance of a Nidus anytime soon. He's making a lot of lings, though. Like, this is 16, 18, 20 extra lings. Is he going to try and just bust Neeb at this point? Because otherwise, these lings are fairly useless, right? Unless you're just going for a third canceling.
I think he really wants that third. And he started to layer behind it, and he's still just building lings. He just added even more. I feel like I understand it's like, kind of like a third denial. Okay, he canceled it. Yeah, then I guess he's just going to try and kill him. He's at least holding a lot of money too. Does he have the larva to actually fuel this?
Okay, so what does Neeb do from this point? He sees the banelings warping in here outside his natural, and he's kind of doing his best job with the sentry and the adept holding the third base, but okay, TLO just absolutely super committing to this third base. Now he sees the big wave of Phoenix, which they are darn annoying. Lings don't shoot up though, and I feel that this is kind of a bad spot for TLO. Like he cancelled his lair to get this done, and that third base is still kind of up.
It's a bit wild, honestly. You know, I do like that the Lings kind of stepped back only for a moment, though. I think the potential is still nice here. The Phoenix don't actually have a tremendous amount of energy, and they're not very cost effective when used to lift up and kill Zerglings. So he goes across the map to get some drones, loses a Phoenix, and now the Zerglings have completely surrounded that third base. So at the end of the day, it looks like TLO is going to be able to cash in a little bit later than he maybe hoped to, but he will get the third base with those Zerglings, and he's got that fourth coming up. He just needs to try and, you know, limit the amount that he's going to lose to these Phoenix in his own base at the same time.
Canceling the third was really big, but he does have a lot of Lings on the field, which now the third's dead, like his target's gone. So what do these Lings really achieve besides stopping a future third from going up? But it's definitely a tough situation for both of them. None of this is cut and dry, honestly. And whoa, that is a lot of Lings. And you could tell Neeb was kind of like, holy crap, you have a lot of Lings still. And this third immediately gets cancelled again.
Yeah, that's really frustrating too, because it's not that I don't think that Neeb's goal here is to build a crap ton of adepts so that he can kill the Zerglings outside of his natural to get his third. He wants to switch into something else. He's getting charged, he's getting +1 attack, but these adepts are really riding the struggle bus on their own. Some zealots have been added, but without charge, he's kind of boxed in right now. Everything is on the back of the Phoenix at the moment.
Yeah, I thought the situation was pretty okay for Neeb, but the longer that this game goes on, he's got a similar probe count to TLO, but he is falling behind in upgrades. TLO's actually working off 2 Evos to get out those range upgrades, and it looks like he's just going to be going for a massive Roach Hydra mix, which is very old school, it must be said.
Yeah, well, I guess his plan is that he thinks he's going to be able to get enough Hydralisks to kind of cut through the Phoenix count or any Oracles and help with the Zealots. And I guess the main goal of going with the Roaches for this is he just doesn't want to invest the resources for Banelings to try and kill him. He wants to have the Roaches tank against the Zealots.
I'm actually quite impressed that Nexus didn't die. Like, putting it up in the face of like 20 Lings, and it's like lifts them all and doesn't break a sweat, but that definitely could have been cancelled right there and then. Okay, so Neeb is getting Storm. He's got Charge almost done, +1 on the way. Lots more gateways, Robo Facility coming down as well. So kind of getting back into a normal PvZ game. But with these Phoenix, he really has to find out what he's up against next, which is, well, he does see Roaches being made, which, well, that's a pretty big tell to see what army comes you're up against, because you don't really need Roaches right now for anything.
Got around this Adept a little bit, trying to squeeze a few Zerglings through that natural expansion. Not really going to be able to capitalize on it, but gets a little grab. And he's still got a decent number of the Phoenix, but this double Robo is like, I really need to get something out that can help stop this right now, because like if it was just Zerglings and Hydras and some Banelings, like you can try to do some fancy pants micro to get through it, but when you've got those chunky Roaches, like your Zealots are just not going to be able to deliver the hits they need to onto those Hydralisks. And I mean, even just a couple of Ravagers mixed in as well is going to make stuff like the shield batteries a little bit more vulnerable. Phoenix are going to lift up one of the Ravagers, not able to get the kill, loses one instead.
No, and this is a really bad position for Neeb to want to fight in, because his army's at his third. He has to keep the third alive, but TLO, he's got the high ground now against his opponent and trying to trickle units out. But Neeb, it's not all about Neeb's base, it's about TLO's as well. Neeb is launching a counterattack with the Zealots over here. He's got quite a few high temp. Oh, he lost vision from the high ground, so he couldn't get the Storm off. This is that's very really awkward. Painful.
Really, really painful. He's going to be able to get one of the Hydras, kill the Overseer.
Oh my gosh.
Pull those Storms, though. Okay, well, the army is at about half health now, so whatever comes out is going to have a better chance of being able to win this fight. Now the Phoenix are coming through. That the Hydralisk count has been cold a little bit. Going to be able to get the lifts up on those important tech units while the Zealots continue to chase. Now 17 probes have died in the natural for Neeb thus far, but he is still ripping and tearing in the main and natural of TLO. He was able to clear out everything that was at that 4th base. So worker count wise, he's down, but he still has his bases intact, a decent amount of tech. And as TLO is going to clean this up, it looks like this game will press ever onward to Muslim.
This is... what a weird situation. That counterattack kept Neeb in the game, though, because that was definitely slowing down TLO's economy. And TLO, you can see that he's got kind of one thing in his mind right now, which is just to keep on going, keep on throwing units at his opponent. Now, he is droning up as he does this, so his drone count's going to be a lot higher than Neeb's. He does currently have an upgrade advantage, but army-wise advantage, Neeb's army's looking like it's pretty darn strong right now. Roach is in the main, though.
Yeah, he just slips them on by. That wall was still open. He's going to chase the roaches outside of the natural. That's going to give time for those in that main base, as we were discussing, to be able to get some damage done. This is one of the nice things about retaining any of your Phoenix. Just, they fly, they're fast. They can help deal with this type of harass a little bit more effectively, but without energy, they can't do anything anything more than just kill that first roach. So still going to lose quite a bit of probes in his main base.
Yeah, this is looking pretty dire for Neeb, honestly. Like, as long as TLO doesn't take too much damage from this Warp Prism, which he's doing a good job of not doing that, I think he's in pretty good shape, actually.
Oh, that Prism.
Oh, no. That is a Neeb Prism right there.
That's a massive loss. I mean, the only thing he really has going for him was the really large number of High Templar with Storms, and there still are 4 Templar. They don't really have the energy. He's adding a few more now. But since it is a mostly layer tech focused strategy, and we haven't seen anything like lurkers, the High Templar, complemented by a reasonable modicum of gateway and robotics facility units, can help push off some pretty extreme supply differences in terms of like how much TLO can throw at him. But he needs to be extremely cautious, because one misstep, and as you said, TLO has just a massive army, and he's got a nice position to take this game, honestly, if he's able to get the jump on Neeb.
I wonder if Neeb kind of regrets expanding on the low ground as opposed to the high ground, because now he's so divided and has to fight away from his shield batteries, because it was either shield batteries on the high ground or the low ground. And now he can't do that at all.
Oh, he chases the smaller chunk of the army using storms to zone out the rest. I mean, this is about as much as you can ask for Neeb. He is able to storm down the majority of this army, loses one of his immortals in the process, and of course is going to turn into Archons as the infestation pit finishes on the other side of the map, and he's ready to queue up that 4th base. So I think that's like, he's gotten most of the pressure off of him. He's chewed through a ton of those supply inefficient units, and actually even still, the majority of TLO's supply is in roaches, which can be deceiving. And he's only up 20 supply off roaches, which says to me that this is starting to teeter back a little bit towards Neeb having a more even position to play out of.
Certainly, and the fact that Neeb's confident enough to take a 4th base with all this going on, maybe it won't last that long, but it shows to me that Neeb's feeling a little bit more comfortable. And the fact that this army tech isn't really going anywhere, Neeb's looking at this, is like, okay, if I can hold on even for a moment, wow, that was the nicest, friendliest passing of an immortal against roaches.
When your immortal just walks past a couple roaches, he's going to clean this up, but he loses the forge, researching +2 attack. And, I think a stark contrast from this game to map number 1 is that TLO's actually been getting upgrades too. So he's got +2 range. He's got +1 carapace. All of those upgrades, especially being able to deny one from Neeb, is a pretty massive impact.
It is, and for the first time of this series, like, Neeb's kind of crossing the map and is going to be the aggressor against TLO as opposed to the way around. Oh, nice snipe on the Warp Prism by TLO. Kind of ran into the melee range of the Archons, but did get the juicy Warp Prism, which will slow down this attack monumentally.
Yeah, I just don't think there's enough Zealots here to tank. Like, he kind of needed that Prism, and unfortunately, it had taken some damage from Spore Crawler earlier, so its health was already in the red. So trying to go into a fight and protect a unit that's got effectively about 100 hit points, basically, it's not going to survive too many hits from those Hydras. So going to break up on the rocks, which will open the path to kind of directly rally out of the 4th base. And I do not mind that at all. He's going to send a Zealot, which should run into that hatchery on the west side.
How do you feel about him going back into Phoenix right now, producing 2 at a time? Do you think
I don't get it.
Thinks about Muta or?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I guess if he's playing Roach Hydra, like if we're on Wings of Liberty strats, then he's probably going, you know, the next step would be to go into Mutalisks, right? After you suicide 2 or 3 armies of Roach Hydra. But
that was a really juicy catch by TLO, by the way, because that was like, what, 4 or 5 High Templar right there that he managed to take out?
Well, that was big. So he's got these Phoenix. Yeah, those Phoenix on the right side were on patrol. I do find, yeah, I don't know. Actually, I couldn't possibly try to break this down for you. I'm sure Roddy knows, but he's not here to tell us the dank wisdom of the Phoenix.
No, it's definitely one of those situations where it's like, okay, what are they? Oh, wow. TLO getting the next batch of High Templars as well. And that's definitely sucky for Neeb. You know, this is kind of one of those situations where it's like, okay, this happened once where I got all my High Templars shot here. You know, I'm gonna warp them in over here next time, or it won't happen again. I'll warp them in again, and then it's like they'll get sniped again. That's one of those mistakes that you really, really kick yourself for.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's like, yeah, as you just said, that's like the 2nd or 3rd time that he's warped High Templar in at that base as roaches were showing up to attack, and yeah, not even being able to morph the Archon, saving him there. The overcharged shield battery cannot stop a whole army from killing an Archon. Today, you learned.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I get the feeling that
full energy, 2 full energy High Templar get abducted. Oof. And that's about as rough as it gets, considering, you know, the feedback got that little range buff. They should, if you're paying attention, if you're looking there, you can feedback them. Of course, it's very difficult to do that while trying to make other plays happen. And some of these force fields trying to grab the roaches on the outside of that 4th base. A fleet bacon is being added, but the lurker range upgrades coming in. We do still have a warp prism tucked behind that 4th, 5th base of TLO, so he has some harass potential available to him, but I do wonder now. Yeah, it's going to be hard once he gets out those upgraded lurkers.
Oh, this army just went up a lot in tech, though, for TLO. 11 lurkers coming out onto the field, and they are getting that range upgrade as well, and that's going to make it a lot harder for Neeb. And while he's holding on seeing that many lurkers, you
got to back it up. That is not an army that you want to engage into. There's a significant, how many? There's 11 lurkers with 10 range. These bad boys are going to be very difficult to wedge out of any position that they dig into. And that's, I mean, you kind of get the fleet beacon stuff. You want to have some sort of air superiority, but now he's lodged himself into the 4th base of Neeb. And Neeb actually tried to move that prism down to the other base. He could not open up a counterattack path. And this 4th base is, well, as they say, super dead.
How did TLO end up getting here, though? It felt like Neeb just over-defended his 3rd base and then kind of just let TLO wander by to his 4th almost.
Yeah, I mean, he can try to sandwich from both sides, but there's still a huge amount of reinforcements coming, so he needs to get it all done right here, right now. He's cleared out a good number of the lurkers. He does still have his observer alive. There's just 1 lurker, it looks like, left, and with a lot of immortals here and a couple of the Archons, he can kill a significant portion of this army, but is there just too much Zerg to be stopped? Yes, GG, TLO ties things up.
Well played by TLO. Neeb seemed a little bit out of sorts that game, almost, and maybe the 3rd location wasn't the best, but guys, we're going to take a short break, and we'll finish off this series afterwards.
Welcome back to the DreamHack Masters StarCraft 2. I'm Nathanius, joined by DeMuslim. We're here casting some good old American StarCraft, as we've got a tied series right now between TLO and Neeb. It's been pretty back and forth so far, huh, DeMuslim?
Yeah, I'm very much impressed by TLO managing to tie up the series, and honestly, he has a decent chance because he doesn't look outclassed by Neeb at all so far, which is that's a scary thought for Neeb, because I really think that, if you asked me what the outcome of this match would have been a year ago, I'd have said Neeb all the way. And speaking of the man spawning in the bottom left-hand side as our blue Protoss, it is Neeb.
And spawning in the top right has his opponent, the Red Zerg player representing Team Liquid. He is TLO.
Eternal Empire, though, this is a different beast entirely. It's much more thought out, I feel, within regards to being defensive. And so if you are a Zerg trying to crack a 3-base Protoss, it gets a lot more difficult to do it.
Yeah, Eternal Empire is easily one of the most, I think, best defensive maps in the pool. You still have decent air pockets behind the 3rd base mineral line, the natural, and you can't really tuck yourself behind the main on this one versus Queens or anything like that. But there's certainly the potential for this to go the distance and have a nice long match. I do feel we've had quite a few back and forth games. I think almost all the games today have either been decided very quickly or in that mid-game pressure phase. We haven't really gotten to like Golden Armada or Broodlord Infestor or, really anything of that sort. If there was a region we expect that to happen into, it would probably be NA, especially if we get some of the Terrans coming out. But we will have to see what direction everybody decides to take things in. Neeb was getting ready to rev up that late game engine in the last map, but I mean, TLO hit that lurker timing about as well as he possibly could have.
Yeah, getting on top of the economy like that is absolutely what you want as lurkers. And I like how TLO made a sandwich. And, I had the other casters kind of make fun of me a little bit for saying this at Katowice, but TLO made another sandwich on top of Neeb. And, there's so much flanking and sandwiching going on. It was beautiful to see by both of these guys kind of trying to act around what the other one was going to do. Like, I know you're going to do this, so I'm going to counter with this. And, I know you know that I'm going to do that. But yeah, this game on Eternal Empire, it's definitely one of the games that's a lot safer. I do wonder if Neeb does feel after playing that particular map, Death Aura, that he should take the other Expo. I know there's 2 ways to attack it, but both of them are up ramps, which can be significantly harder to deal with.
Yeah, I honestly, I haven't personally been like a massive fan of the low ground 3rd base. I see in the games I've been casting between like EPT and whatnot since the season change, it's been like a mix. Like there's a good variety of people that will take either one. But like, yeah, like you said, it's because like the direct path to that 3rd base, there really is like just one if you take the low ground. But it's hard. No, it's hard. I mean, the fact that he lost several units because they couldn't shoot up the ramp that led to his own base, I think was instrumental in, the loss of that game. He 2 High Templar for free because he tried to storm, but they just walked up the ramp instead. So certainly something to consider, but it won't be a question on this map. The expansions are laid out pretty clearly for where you go here.
Do you know what's also funny? Despite Protoss being super duper high tech, how the hell have they not figured out how to build on ramps? Like, if you had shield batteries on the ramps and stuff, that would have been way easier to deal with. And, for these high-tech dudes, I'm just surprised, Nate.
Well, I think the way that they did it was as these Lings actually trying to get through the Adept wall, but I think they kind of went for, like, the Brood War fanboy approach, where they're like, the Protoss players just kind of view themselves as, like, trying to use their tech for modern changes is just a bad idea. I think that's how they actually explain in the lore a bunch of that stuff. That's why they don't, like, mine gas with, like, warp gate technology. They're like, oh yeah, well that would be so savage of us to forego hard labor and automate all processes, despite the fact that our workers are robots. But I digress. Yeah, there is a weird lore explanation for why Protoss just don't do cooler stuff with their laser beams.
Damn you, lore. Okay, so we'll get the Cyber Core. I mean, that's quite costly though, right? Like, that's a lot of lings that went down, and Warpgate did finish, which I guess that's what he was kind of gunning for, to slow down any potential pressure at him.
But he got everything, right? Like, he got his Twilight, he has his Stargate. Presumably, if he wanted a Robo at this time, that would be the only thing that got delayed, but he doesn't really need to center his strategy around like a crazy fast robotics facility. He can just start resonating glaives, get a couple of adepts warped in, and then build the Robo and get the Prism to line up with that. Or just take his third. Both are fine options.
I like the third option. I also like the fact that he's going for adepts. I definitely feel that the adept choice for Neeb, this feels one that if players were quote-unquote worse than him, he would just beat them with a strategy every time. Like, he's so damn good at it. So I do like the fact that he's at least pulling this out once in the series. That being said, it just feels like TLO's defended everything so far so well and is droning up very adequately against everything as well.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing that we can take away from this match, it's that, I mean, I kind of expect, I hold Neeb to that standard, right? And, you know, I think, especially with all the changes going on and like, you know, somebody's life and all of the things that can happen and whatnot, after making that move over to Canada, after making all his adjustments, man, TLO has been playing some sharp StarCraft, and I feel like he's been getting better again recently in all the series that I've been able to see of him playing. Let's see how well he can handle this adept attack, though. He does already have a handful of roaches out on the map. Not a lot, and no Zerglings yet.
He is supply blocked as hell as well, Nate. Like, the Overlords just started making as soon as they came over. Now he's making a Nidus worm against all of this too.
Okay, so I think that supply block, he's like, oh, well, I've got the money that I can't spend, so I'm probably going to lose my base.
Fire? That was like beyond with Marines, except it's Neeb with Adepts. And now these Adepts, they're just going to stay at the third, kind of deal with this third, but Neeb's got to be feeling, man, this was way too easy, and you haven't left yet, and you're still making roaches. What's going on kind of thing, right?
If he shaded over towards that natural mineral line at all, you should see it as well. Okay, so Nidus is starting inside of the main. Neeb actually does not have vision of it. All he can see is the Overseer that's in his base right now. So Nidus is going to finish completely unabated. There is an Immortal that's about to pop, but that's going to be basically it outside of the units at the third. And he's actually going to drop another Nidus to kind of block the pathing back into his own base.
I think for a moment there, Neeb was like, am I against Mutalisk? I'm going to put a cannon in my mineral line and stuff. Then it was like, oh, there's a Nidus in my base. Oh, there's another Nidus in my base. Anyhow, this is a lot of Neeb here. He's pulling all his probes against TLO. Force fields go down. Immortal is shooting. The probes are still fighting. More roaches do pop out. The supplies are very close between these players, but it looks like there's way